Hello, and thank you for joining us today for Tech Tuesday. Today I'm going to go over how to create and make a transaction in Instanet Forms. So the first thing that we're going to do is I'm going to start from the Northstar MLS dashboard. You can go into Instanet in a variety of different ways. We can go to the Home tab and hover over it, and then click on Instanet Forms. You can also go under External Links on the Home tab and click on Instanet Forms, and then you can also go through listings. So I'm just going to go into the property full report of the listing, and you'll see Instanet Forms underneath the photo on the property full report. If you click on this one, it's going to automatically create a transaction as a selling agent or the buyer's agent, and you can take it through Instanet and fill out the different forms from there. So for today, we're just going to hover over the Home tab and go to Instanet Forms. And a lot of times you'll have a system message if they make a change or if there's new forms available or anything to that effect. So these system messages are just information for you. Once you're done reading it, you can click here to continue. And then we're going to go right into a transaction by clicking the transaction button. And I'm going to show you how to do this in Transaction Desk Lite. There's also a Pro version if you'd like to use that. And all the information flows through the Lite system into the Pro system and vice versa. Okay, so I'm going to create a new transaction. So I'm going to go up to I would like to create new transaction file and click the arrow. I can pick a transaction name. So I'm just going to put the last name of the client and then the first name. And then just give a little bit of address information on there as well, just so I can recognize this when I come back into the transaction file. Enter transaction type. I'm going to do a listing, so I'm going to pick residential listing or the most relevant type that's under here. Your office can load in custom types, so you may have, I have a purchase agreement residential under here. You may have something to that effect, and you want to pick the one that's the most relevant. We have a couple different options for importing information, either from the MLS or for the tax database. If I want to import information from the MLS, I'm going to choose Northstar listing data. If I want to import it from the tax system, Realist, I'm going to choose Realist Northstar. And then I'm going to type in the MLS number or the parcel ID. Once I select one of those options, it's also going to ask me the property type if I choose Northstar listing data, and then the county if I choose Realist Northstar. So I'd want to pick the appropriate label under there as well. And then I would like to use a transaction template or copy information from an existing transaction. You can use this if your office uses transaction templates, so if they have contacts and maybe details that are the same for all the forms, documents, and forms. And then I am the seller landlord agent. I'm going to keep that the same for now. It's always going to default if you have a listing to seller landlord agent. If you have a purchase to buyer tenant agent, you can always switch that over. If you're not the agent but you're an assistant, you can switch this from to neither, and it's not going to import the agent's information into the form. You can load that manually yourself. I'm going to click the Save button to continue. Oops. And it's going to create the transaction. So the first thing that I'm going to want to fill out is the details page. This page is going to help fill out fields that may show up on multiple forms. So if I have the address, which is going to show up on multiple forms, if I fill it out here, it's actually going to pull that information into the forms when I use a process called auto-populate. So I'm just going to fill in a little bit of information here. Okay, so I would fill out all these fields. I'm going to put in a list price. And then you also want to come down to the transaction date section and fill that out as well. Once you finish filling out the information, there's a save button in both the bottom right-hand corner and the top right-hand corner. And then once I get the message property information successfully updated, I can go on to the contacts tab, but I want to make sure I see that message first. You can always come back to the details tab as you have more information, or if information changes, you can come back to this tab and update the information, and then we just have to auto-populate the forms again. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is click on the gray contacts tab. Do note that there are options at the top of the page, but those are for the system as a whole, so you want to make sure that you're staying within your transaction by only clicking on the gray tabs below. Okay, it's going to automatically pull your information, your contact information, as well as your brokerage into the system. So then we need to add in this case, we're going to add sellers to the transaction, and then any other contacts that you want to store in the transaction. They don't have to have a spot on a form to sign to be added to the transaction. This is just a good way to organize your contacts. So I'm going to go up to I would like to again, and I'm going to add transaction contact and click the arrow. And again, in this case, we're going to pick a seller. And then you can fill out any information about that seller that you have. I'm going to start off with a first, middle, and last name, and then the email address. And then just a couple fields that I want to point out. Insert from contacts. Anytime I check this box down at the bottom to add to my contacts, that's going to insert them into my global contacts. So if I want to do an authent to send signing later, they'll be available in there. Or if I need to use them in a different transaction, I could grab them as well. Same as property address. This is an option that's only available for sellers, and it's going to bring in the property address from the details page or from importing from a different part of the system into the transaction. So if I click that button, it'll bring it into there. A time that you wouldn't want to use that is if that's not their primary address. You would want to make sure you put their primary address in here instead. Preferred name and signature. If you're working with a trust, you can add the preferred name, preferred signature, and preferred initials. And then once I'm finished here, I'm just going to click the Save button. And then I would do this again for another contact. And you do want to add each of your contacts separately. And you'll see here that I have the same email address, even if they have the same email address, because they do need a separate spot to sign. I'm going to click the Save button. And that's going to save my second contact in the system. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the gray Forms tab. And I do have some forms loaded into here from a template, but if you don't have forms, you can add them to the system using the I would like to option. Or if you find that you have most of the forms here, but you're missing one, you can also go under I would like to, add new form, and you're going to click the arrow. You're going to click the plus sign next to individual forms. And then there's different folders that you can look in. If you're not really sure what folder it's going to be in, there's a search up at the top. Make sure that you type the word that you want to search by. It always works best if you start off small, so start off with just one word. and then click the magnifying glass to search. Otherwise, we can go into these folders. I have Northstar MLS forms for my listing input forms and my change forms, and then MN residential forms. This is a folder where I can find my residential forms. Everything's going to be in alphabetical order in the folder, so I just have to scroll down to where the form is. And then I can select the form. If I need to select more than one form, I'm going to hold the control key down and click with my mouse. And then click Add Selected Forms to add them to my transaction. Okay, so I was able to add those forms in here. I do have 2 in here, but that's okay for this example. If you do want to delete a form, if you have additional forms in here that you're not going to use, provided that there isn't an M in front of the form, which means it's a mandatory form according to your office, you can delete it from the transaction. So I'm just going to check a box in front of it. I'm going to go up to I would like to, and I'm going to say delete selected forms, and then click the arrow and OK to delete that form. Okay, so now my next step is very important. What I'm going to do is I'm going to auto-populate the information from the details in the contacts pages into my forms. So I'm going to go to I would like to, auto-populate forms. Just note that you don't have to select any of the forms to do this. It's going to automatically populate all of the forms that I have in my transaction. And then I'm going to click the arrow and say OK. And it's going to give me a message that says all forms successfully updated. Okay, the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to click on each individual form and I can fill out the rest of the information into the form. So let's just start off by clicking on the listing contract. I'm just going to click on the text to open it. And then I can fill out any additional information that I need to on the form. So I can click this little calendar to add the date. I can check boxes in here, I can type. And then once I have everything filled out, or if I have to leave my computer, you want to periodically go up to File and Save. And that's going to save the changes that I have in the system. When you want to get to another form, you don't have to go back to the menu. You can just click on Transaction Forms and then click on the next form that you want to take a look at. So if I want to look at my listing change form, I can just click on that and it's going to take me right into the change form where I can edit it. And again, I'm going to go to File and Save to save that information. Once you get to the point where you want to email or print the forms, to email, you can go up to Transaction Forms. And then I can check all the forms that I want to send. So I'm going to check everything but the disclosures because I'm going to show you how to send those to allow them to make changes. And then I'm going to click on the envelope button, which means email. And then I can send it as attachments or I can send it as a link. And then there's an option for allowing recipients to make changes. I'm only going to allow this when I send disclosures just so they can't make any changes to the forms that we haven't talked about. And then under recipient, I'm going to go into my contacts and I'm going to search for the contact. And select it, and it's going to fill in the email address. I can type a message. I can send a fax back cover sheet if they have access to a fax machine but not a scanner. They can actually fax it back and it's going to go into an email format when it gets to the the fax number that's provided on the sheet, and I'll get a notification, and it'll also come back into my transaction in Instanet. So you can check that box or uncheck it depending on if you want to send that cover sheet. And then I have a cover sheet header and a message that are available to me as well. Once I've selected everything in here, I can just click the checkbox and it's going to email it out. Now, if I want to email out disclosures, the thing that I'm going to do differently is the format that I'm sending it in. So I'll select these disclosures. So I have the seller's disclosure, SSTS, and the well disclosure. And I'm going to click on the envelope button again. But this time I'm going to send it as a link and allow recipients to make changes. I'm again going to find my contact and select them. And then I can type a little message. One thing I didn't point out last time is there's actually a CC and a BCC under here. So if you have more than one individual that you need to send it to, you can use the CC blank. And then I'm going to click the checkbox to send the emails a link and allow them to make changes. Okay, so that's how we fill out the forms. If I want to print the forms, I'm going to go to File and Exit. And from the menu, I can select the forms that I want to send. This little checkbox up at the top will check everything for you. And then I'm going to go to I would like to print selected forms to PDF and click the arrow. On this page, I can change the order. So if I want my agency form to be first, I'm going to select that and then move it up. If I find that there's a form in this list that I don't want to send, not that I want to delete permanently, but I don't want to send to my printer, I'm going to select those. I can use the Control key to select multiple, and then I'm going to click the little X to delete selected, and it'll delete it from there. And then once I'm ready, I'm going to click this little Save button down at the bottom. And depending on the browser, you're going to download this a little bit differently. One thing that will remain the same is up at the top of the page, we have this little star that says PDF created successfully. If I click to open transaction print PDF, this is going to open it up in a separate tab for me so I can look it over. And then once you're done looking it over, if you don't have any changes, you can go right click and then go to print from here. And you'll also notice I'm in Google Chrome and I also got a download right here that I can open and print as well. Once you're done with that, you can close the tab and you've printed those forms. Really quickly, one other tab that we have in here, I'm not going to go over the Authentisign tab today, but there's a Documents tab in there as well. So you can store documents in here. You can store many different formats in here. So to store something, I can go to I would like to upload documents. And then I can find the document on my computer. Let's say it's, say we're doing photos. I'm going to pick the type. Listing, and then I can pick the documents in here to add. And then I'm going to click open. You can add multiple into here. Once I'm done adding them, I'm just going to click this little upload button down at the bottom, and it's going to upload the document for me. You'll notice that I did a JPEG document this time, but you can pick from the following formats as well. All right, well, that is it for Tech Tuesday this week. If you have any questions, again, please feel free to contact me. The phone number here is 218-828-4567, or you can contact me at marissa@greaterlakesrealtors.com. Thanks and have a great day.